A proud supporter of this program, Riverbend Food Bank's vision is a hunger-free Iowa and Illinois.
Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory has been serving Quad City families since 1889. Whelan Presley Funeral Homes are located in Rock Island, Milan, and Reynolds and are proud supporters of WQPT.
The ongoing need to help area flood victims, firing off fireworks as the downtown cleans up, and moving the blues slightly upriver in the cities. There will be some changes due to the aftermath of the flooding for two big Independence Day holiday events, Red, White, and Boom and Blues Fest. More on that in a moment. But first, for some, the flood simply is not over. Even though the Mississippi and Rock Rivers are, for the most part, back in their banks, there is still plenty of need for flood victims and those who are trying to get our riverfront communities back in order. The Salvation Army has been one of the relief organizations in the forefront of helping people, but they say they still need more help. And joining us is Major Scott Shelbourne of the Salvation Army of the Quad Cities. Thanks for joining us, Major.
Thanks for having me out today.
Why don't you give me an update on where you are right now? Because we are out of the flood stage and now very seriously into the recovery stage.
Yeah, a lot of people are really getting into their houses now and really seeing how much damage the floodwaters have affected their homes and their properties. And so the Salvation Army continues to run operations on both sides of the river at our Moline Corps Community Center, Davenport Corps Community Center, where we're handing out cleanup supplies, also non-perishable food items, because some people don't have electricity on and they need the food just to get by day to day.
This flood was historic in so many different ways. Not only was it a record height, but if you think of the people on Campbell's Island or Pleasant Valley or some of the other communities that saw 90 days of flooding, this is really worn thin for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, and not only that, but the flood peaked, then recessed, and then came back. So a lot of those folks had early on started getting cleanup supplies and started getting back into their properties to clean them out and just to have floodwater come back in and destroy what they had already started.
And that's what I wonder is that, is there some trepidation now? I mean, you keep flashing back to 1993.
Sure.
And in 1993, there was a crest in April, then the big one came in July. And I think you kind of wonder, okay, now wait a second, we just had one, I think in about April, early May, and then a second one in June.
Yeah, I'm sure that looms large in the back of people's minds. I mean, right now the river's going back into its normal banks and patterns, so hopefully that won't be happening in the future. But if it does, the Salvation Army is still going to be here helping people.
And let's talk about that. What type of help are you offering right now?
So if people go to either one of our core community centers, there they'll find flood cleanup supplies, anything to get the muck out of their homes.
Right.
And then we also have food and water there for them to stay safe and well fed and to maintain their spiritual their spiritual well-being. We also have our Corps officers and staff and volunteers there that are able just to sit and listen and let people kind of decompress a moment while they're picking up their supplies. And then sometimes we're available, folks just want people to pray with them. But most of all, people just want somebody to listen to who understands. And so that's a great service the Salvation Army is providing as well.
How important is that mental health component?
It's huge.
Yeah, it really is.
Like you were saying earlier, folks have been going through this near 100 days, and it's been stressful. A lot of folks, their homes have been out of water for a little while, but they've only been able to get to their homes on boats because the access roads are destroyed. So people are going through all kinds of ranges of emotions. We were talking to one veteran the other day who had to send his dog away for several months with his in-laws, and was the dog, he was getting ready to have his dog come back home, and this was a really great blessing for him, and he just sat and talked about that for about 20 minutes, and because it's been so destructive for his family, but not just his, but all the families who've been affected by the floodwater.
Well, we're heading into July right now in a flood that basically started around St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
Where's the area the geographic area where the need is the greatest still? I mean, I mentioned Campbell's Island. I know that they have been underwater so significantly.
A lot of folks all the way along the river, and a lot of folks didn't get inundated directly with floodwater, but because of the pressure of the underground currents, It pushed water up into their basements, sewers backed up into people's
Sure.
homes. So all along the river on both sides of the Mississippi, people are affected.
And the water table's still so high that
Yeah.
when we get any other rain, it's just inundated.
Right, it just pushes more water into people's basements, and and a lot of the sewer systems are still trying to cope.
So we talked about the need. What exactly do you want to see as far as donation is concerned to the Salvation Army?
Right now, excuse me. Right now, we continue to need dehumidifiers. So we're asking people to either donate dehumidifiers or donate funds directly to go towards dehumidifiers. Those are kind of expensive units.
Yeah.
So when we've had people donate them, we get them in the door. Or people donate funds. We go out and buy them and bring them in, and then we start calling people. We still have a list of, I think, about 60 families right now that are requesting dehumidifiers or fans. So any kind of item like that, just to help move air, circulate, and to dry out. Because it's not only that they're trying to dry out from the floodwater, but also from all the cleaning chemicals and things like that. We need to air these homes out, so they need fans to help that happen. Also, right now we're running low on garbage bags, disposable gloves, and also face masks. A lot of people are cleaning up mold in their houses, and so those are needed items right now.
And let's be really honest, is that people do have to be careful when they are cleaning up to take care of their own health.
Yeah, we want to make sure no one's getting some kind of lung infection because of some of this mold's pretty aggressive that's growing in their homes. We know the flood water that went into their homes wasn't clean water.
Right, absolutely.
So a lot of that after effect is pretty destructive. But also, some of these cleaning chemicals are pretty strong, and we want people to be careful not to mix chemicals, but the face masks kind of help a little bit with that.
Salvation Army has been a part of so many different disaster recovery efforts throughout the country as well as throughout the Quad City area. What makes this one different? Why? I mean, just the longevity of this flood has to be one of the biggest factors.
Yeah, and actually the Salvation Army on both sides of Iowa is serving about the same amount of time.
I guess
with
you
the
do
same
forget that there is flooding along the
Yeah.
Missouri River, and we
Yeah.
saw that in communities, as you said, in Nebraska and
In
western Iowa.
fact, a lot of the items that we've been giving away locally here, the Teamsters were able to drive a semi-truck over from the Omaha area over here to help people recovering from the flood on on this side of the state. So it's been the Salvation Army, we're local, and all the donations that are coming in are staying local, but there's a greater complex of Salvation Army units all around the country and around the Midwest, and we're all trying to help each other out to get people to a state of sustainability after this flood.
One of the interesting things about this particular disaster, and let's call it a disaster with a capital D, is that there were so many different community organizations that really tried to work together, that you guys didn't kind of step on each other's feet or duplicate services that were all going on. I mean, that was a conscious effort by the Salvation Army, the American Red Cross, a number of groups.
Yeah, and that really comes down to the Scott County Emergency Management Agency. Their coordination of this event, all the trainings we've done in the past have really made us all know what each component into our flood response as a community was going to be, and make sure that we really weren't stepping on each other's toes.
Is that one of the things that worked? I mean, I'm sure that you're going to have one of those periods of time after the disaster where you sit there and go, okay, this is what worked, this is what didn't work.
Right.
Would that be what worked?
Yeah, definitely. I am so impressed by our local, both Rock Island and Scott County Emergency Management Agencies. They were so well prepared, communicated well with all the agencies. We were all part of the process as the floodwater started to really spike there at the end of April. And we were all there at the EOC, just working each other and saying, hey, I've got these supplies over here, let's get them over here. And it's just a great coordination of a whole bunch of people and agencies and equipment and supplies to make sure everybody was getting taken care of.
Well, and let me ask you, just to finish up, is that when you look back at it and you see the work that had been done, a lot of people just looked at Davenport, downtown Davenport being impacted, but there was a greater need for a lot more people. Are you a little worried that now that downtown Davenport almost gets back into business, that a lot of flood victims are going to be forgotten?
I'm not worried because the Salvation Army is going to stay open. So as people continue to need us, we're continuing to hand out supplies until we run out. So I know from the Salvation Army's standpoint, they're not going to be forgotten. But I know in the greater community, as other news events happen, 4th of July comes up, and we don't see the pressing water against our shores, that people will tend to forget. But we really need to remember that it's going to take many months if not a year, for people to really recover from this event.
And once again, you have service offices in both Moline and Davenport,
Yep.
as you say, both sides of the river. If somebody needs help, what should they do?
They can just come into one of our core community centers, the Quad Cities Davenport Core, which is at 3400 West Central Park. They can stop in there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 5, or the Moline Heritage Temple Core on the Moline side of the river, 2200 Fifth Avenue. And they will be able to help them with supplies, both, again, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 to 5. They can also, the Red Cross is issuing referrals to help people get basic needs for their houses again, pots and pans and furniture. Those referrals need to come over to one of the Salvation Army units, including our Family Service Center at 100 Kirkwood Boulevard in Davenport. And then our case managers will get them a thrift store voucher to go to one of our thrift store to get some basic things to get their households back up in order.
Once again, underline it, you don't have to go this alone. There are agencies out
Yes.
there to help. Salvation is one of them. Major Scott Shelbourne, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me out today.
Good to see you. Still to come, moving Red, White, Boom, and the Blues. But first, it is officially summer, and we're now headed into a holiday weekend next week. These are the days that should not be wasted. Just ask Laura Adams. She's out and about.
This is Out and About for June 24th through 30th. WQPT will be at the Silvis Public Library for a family time themed Let's Go Luna, June 27th from 6 to 7. The Quad Cities Senior Olympics takes place June 24th through 29th, with over 90 events at the Carver Athletic Center on the Augustana campus. Enjoy music from Frankie Joe and Kinfolk, as well as kids' activities from Nahant Marsh at Mercado on 5th, June 28th, starting at 5. And get ready for Quad Cities Navy Week events throughout the area June 24th through 30th, capped off with a performance of the incredible United States Navy Blue Angels at the Quad City Air Show at Davenport's Municipal Airport. Summer concert series include Stripes and Saxophones at Veterans Memorial Park in Bettendorf the 28th. Moline Township Activity Center features Grey Wolf June 24th at 6:30. Minus 6 performs at Faze Field in Bettendorf June 27th at 6:30. And East Moline Main Street Concert Series at Runners Park on the 30th at 4. Learn about Rock Island Rosies, Women Workers of the Island, the Rock Island Arsenal Museum, running through the summer. On stage, the classic tale of Little Women the Musical is performed at the Black Box Theater in Moline through the 30th. The musical Holiday Inn continues at Circa 21, plus the true story of the Three Little Pigs begins June 22nd, also on the Circa stage. For more information, visit wqpt.org.
Thank you, Laura. The flood of 2019 has been pretty disruptive since St. Patrick's Day, but now, more than 100 days later, it's leaving an impact on our 4th of July plans, and that includes the big fireworks show on July 3rd along the Davenport and Rock Island riverfronts. And joining us is Ken Crokin, one of the organizers of the annual Quad Cities Red, White, and Boom celebration. The show must go on.
And it will. And it will.
How big of a show is this? I mean, this is a really big deal for the Quad Cities during the summer.
Oh, yeah. It's the only by city, by state fireworks show in the Midwest, perhaps in the country. 4,000 pounds of explosives. And it's become this is our 15th year. So it's become a tradition, and people expect it, and we started this so that our kids could have a free fireworks display of spectacular proportion that they could always remember. That was the dream of Terry Lunardi, one of our very earliest supporters. And so we couldn't not have it.
Boy, 15 years has flown by, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has.
Sorry about that. And ordinarily, there'd be a barge in the middle of the Mississippi River that'd be shooting off these fireworks.
Yeah, it'd be 2 barges. Our vision for Red, White, and Boom would be eventually to have multiple barges in the river between the Iowa and Illinois Quad Cities and orchestrated firing. Well, the last year we had the 2 barges, and it was really spectacular. But sadly this year, there are no barges. The river traffic has been so delayed, and all the barges are tied up.
Yeah, exactly.
There's billions of dollars of product sitting on barges waiting to get downriver. And so we couldn't get any barges. But we turned to our good friends over at Rock Island Arsenal. And again, as they did in 2014,
right,
they came through for us and gave us permission to fire the show off the western edge of the island. Now, the bad news is we won't get the visual effect of 2 sets of fireworks, but because we're land-based, we get to fire higher in the sky and bigger shells.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
That's a good compromise,
Yeah,
isn't it?
so it's something different, and different is good.
Well, and the big deal also is for people who are coming along the riverfront, because as you know, LeClaire Park, still a huge mess.
Right.
So the viewing is going to be different this year as well.
Well, yes, it is. We're going to be, the Iowa headquarters is, again, Modern Woodman Park.
Great place.
11,000, capacity, 7,000 fixed seats. So it's a great place to watch this. The Illinois headquarters location will be beautiful Schwiebert Park, which is a lot of fun, the
Absolutely.
splash and all that sort of
And
thing.
they do a lot of events before the fireworks even start.
Absolutely.
Underline that.
And this year they're adding Arsenal Island to the viewing locations. And access will be relatively simple. I think a lot of people avoid going to Arsenal Island because you have to, do things.
Show an ID to get
Yeah,
in. And we'll talk about that a little
yeah,
later on in the program.
Yeah, but all you have to do is show a
ID.
state driver's license
If
to
you're
get in.
16 and older.
Yes,
is what you
exactly.
need.
So they're going to simplify it, and that should be a lot of fun. The viewing location will be over by Headquarters 1, which, here's a little bit of trivia for you, Jim.
All right, I'm ready.
Headquarters 1 is the second largest federal residence in the country. Oh, you
It
knew
is?
that.
Oh,
Okay.
of course, everyone
Yeah.
knows that. I thought you had one on me here. Plus, it might be haunted, but we're not quite sure about that. What are you suggesting for people to do? I mean, will there be a parking issue, especially on the Davenport side? Are you telling people to get there early? Or?
Yeah, there's always a parking issue whenever 20,000 people decide
Right.
to go to the same place at the same time, right? But there's plenty of parking. If you're in some kind of a big rush to leave at the end of the show, and you shouldn't be, by the way, but if you are, I'd park a block or two north of the park and walk.
Well, but also, what a great opportunity to enjoy the fireworks and perhaps help some of these struggling downtown businesses.
Yes, exactly. And that's what we really are counting on this time. As part of my my day job, I'm also working on behalf of Downtown Davenport Partnership, and our businesses would welcome you to come in, have a drink, eat a meal, have fun.
Yeah.
It should be an easy sell. Most of the businesses are open for business, and we'll be delighted to see you.
And almost every single one of those businesses is family friendly, or certainly
gosh, yeah.
are waiting to see anybody to come in.
Right. Yeah, no, they are all family friendly, and the whole Red, White, and Boom event is family friendly.
Absolutely.
So, and we get just crowds of young families there. You can bring your picnic basket to Schwiebert Park. But not to Modern Woodman Park. There are some rules that people need to be aware of, and they should go to our website, Red, White, and Boom.
That's
to
exactly what I was
learn.
going to pitch. And if
Yeah.
you can't find it, just Google Red, White, and Boom Quad Cities.
Absolutely.
You're going to find all the information.
Yeah, there you go.
Ken Crokin, thanks so much for joining
Thank
us.
you, Jim.
Have a good 3rd of July as well as 4th.
Thank you.
Rebecca Kased and Alan Morrison are, you like this, ukulele duo who take an interesting twist on 5 decades of popular music. Well, this duo joined us at the River Music Experience, downtown Davenport, to perform one of their original works. Here's Kased and Morrison with Every Day of the Year.
Never dreamed of a place where all I did was look in your eyes. I never wanted a land where you would be mine. But despite all the poking and prodding and pretending the other ain't
Rebecca Kased and Alan Morrison with Every Day of the Year. Well, any day is a good day to hear the blues, but those words are never more true than during the 4th of July weekend in the cities. Blues Fest is moving a little further away from the riverfront this year to a unique venue. And joining us is Mississippi Valley Blues Society board member Ellen Clow. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You have faced flooding before. You've had to move a little bit further into Davenport, but this year you actually thought of crossing the river and starting something new.
Yeah, we're excited to go to the Bend this year. We considered downtown as we've done in the past, and we looked at that, gave it a lot of consideration, and then we went down to the Bend and had a site inspection there. And in the end, the board of directors voted and decided to stay with a park-like setting and keep our festival on the grass rather than on concrete on the 4th of July weekend.
For those who don't know, the Bend is the new development that is in East Moline. It really hasn't had a major event to this caliber as Blues Fest, so you're really inaugurating this whole area. And also there's buildings nearby that you can use for some indoor venues as well.
Exactly. They're letting us use the event center. They're very cooperative with us. We're going to use that for our blues school on Saturday, and then we're going to also use it for the After Fest Jam on Saturday night.
Yeah, that's going to be fun as well.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Let's talk about the blues, because you've got some great performers that are coming, and it makes it really, I'm looking at here, Friday you've got Ronnie Baker Brooks, Samantha Fish, Saturday Tab Benoit, and the North Mississippi All-Stars. I mean, you got pretty good lineups for both nights.
We do. We do. Ronnie Baker Brooks is a Chicago blues man, soul singer, and just monster guitarist. He's the son of Lonnie Brooks, who's a true legend in the blues scene, so he's grown up in it. Very talented man. And then we have Samantha Fish coming. She's a young, charismatic singer, songwriter, and guitarist from Kansas City. She's a rising star in the blues scene, and she's continuing to change her music up all the time. So if you've seen her in the past, come see her again, because she's continually changing.
Reinventing herself a little bit?
Exactly,
Yeah.
yes. Very talented young woman.
Well, the Blues Society really wants to keep a true American music genre alive in the Quad Cities. Why is that so important?
Well, that is our mission, both through performances and education. We're just a group of people who love the blues and feel that it needs to be kept alive because you don't hear enough of it out and about. So we have monthly live blues shows. We're bringing acts in sometimes twice a month here recently, and then our annual blues festival.
Well, let's be honest, the Blues Festival is what funds so many of the other events that you have throughout the year. True. It is a fundraiser for us, and we hope each year that we make enough money that we can have it again the next year. That's the thing. And part of it is, of course, Blues School, and I know you're so proud of that.
We are.
Each year, because I mean, you're really getting at the youngest people in the Quad City area.
Right. This year we've got 3 sessions of Blues School on Saturday. The first one is the Winter Blues All-Stars, and those are the graduates of the Ellis Kell Winter Blues Camp, ages 8 to 18. And so they'll be performing, I believe they start at 2. And then our second one is David Burnson. He started doing his lessons the very first year we started Blues School, which was 20 years ago. He's been coming every year. He does a great harmonica blues shop, and everyone gets a free harmonica who attends his workshop. And it's a very lively and fun.
And that's a tradition as well.
It is.
And that really has become quite the tradition.
Yep, everybody loves his workshops. And then our third workshop is Nick Clark, and he's a 23-year-old who's considered to be one of the top harmonica players in the country right now. He's extremely talented. He teaches blues in the schools and other areas. And you can also catch him performing on our Pettigo Jones stage prior to his workshop in
23 is so young.
It is, I know.
To be that talented at 23.
Exactly,
what were we doing when we were 23?
Right.
So it is great to see, like, because you're talking about different generations. I mean, you're teaching young kids, but here you got a 23-year-old who's living the blues, who's just being moved up inside this music.
Right.
That's a pretty good feeling.
Yes.
for the future of the blues.
Yes, we always try to have acts that are going to appeal to the younger people at our festival as well, because that's part of the process, is to keep the young people learning and hearing the blues so they can appreciate it.
You do, like you said, you do like the fact that it is a park-like setting, and it's the new East Moline Murphy Park Bandshell, as it's called, in that area. I mean, what do you like about this venue change? What do you like about this home?
The main thing is that it's still on the banks of the Mississippi River and it's on the grass. With our Blues Festival being on the 4th of July weekend, it's often quite warm, and being on the concrete and asphalt is pretty uncomfortable.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, when there was flooding in the past, you'd move up about 2 blocks and be right on the street in Davenport as your best alternative when there weren't that many alternatives to have.
That's true.
Yes.
And we did consider that, but in the end, the board of directors voted for the park-like atmosphere of Murphy Park. And with the Hyatt Hotel being right there on property, that's very convenient, and the event center that we can use for the Afterfest Jam and the Blues School. And then they've also offered us the Rust Belt in the event of rain. So
Which
we
is
have
the
a
new
backup
music
plan.
venue or a bunch of event venues. So that is cool. So if you haven't been to the Blues Fest, this might be the year that you should see it and check it out.
Yeah, and we're really hoping to reach some people on the Illinois side of the river that may not have ventured over to Davenport in the past. The Blues Society does represent both Iowa and Illinois Quad Cities, and so we're keeping it in the Quad Cities, and we're keeping it on the river, and we're keeping it on the grass.
Ellen Clow from the Society, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Blues
Thank
Fest,
you.
the true part of summer in the Quad Cities. You can check out the full schedule and get ticket information at the Blues Society website. Just check it out. Do a Google search. Very easy to find out. WQPT is doing its part to support the military men and women in the cities who are serving our nation. We call it Embracing the Military. And we talked about it a little earlier. You heard about those changes in the Riverfront fireworks show this year. The Rock Island Arsenal is inviting the community to join them on the island for what they're calling Boom on the Rock. There will be children's games and activities, a car cruise, and a great view of the fireworks starting July 3rd at 5 in the afternoon. And just remember, you'll need to show a valid state-issued ID for anyone 16 and older. Both the Moline and Rock Island gates will be open, but they suggest use the Moline gate because it's probably a little easier for you to get on and off the island from that location. On the air, on the radio, on the web, and on your mobile device. Thanks for taking the time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
A proud supporter of this program, Riverbend Food Bank's vision is a hunger-free Iowa and Illinois.
Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory has been serving Quad City families since 1889. Whelan Presley Funeral Homes are located in Rock Island, Milan, and Reynolds and are proud supporters of WQPT.